you about what we've been doing in biological sciences. And really, I guess it's now to say this is what you do on a shoestring budget. We really haven't had the sort of substantial funding that Food ATP has benefited from, and we haven't had the length of time that the real estate and management have had. So we're very young and nascent in our attempts, and we are very, well, as I say, it's a shoestring budget. So this is sort of where we are.
Sorry, on technology
now. This is a bit worrying. Distance learning.
Just start without.
Okay, well, I can give perhaps a little bit of a preamble. The project started probably about 2009 when we still had a Biosciences, and part of the remit of that was to try to promote interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary sort of research on the campus. And so it was a way of trying to raise the profile of the research platforms that the university had. So that was SIN, the Centre for Integrated Neuroscience and Neurobiology, if I've got that right. CAF, the new chemical analytical facility, which opened up about that time. The Biocentre, which at the time was in operation. And CFAM, the Centre for Atomic Microscopy. So the idea was to try to create a program, a short course. It started as a 10-day short course for postgraduate students, to help give them some advanced skills training, to give them some knowledge of the kinds of biotechnologies or technologies that we had just here, even on our own campus, and to put them in front of experts. So get the experts in these areas to come and speak to them and get them excited about the technology and the techniques and how they could use that in their day-to-day research. And the idea was if those young, excited students would go back to their research groups and get their PIs excited, then that could help foster some collaboration on the campus. And I think there have been some examples of that, but I haven't got the data to hand, but if anybody's interested, we can let you know. So at the same time, so I started this in 2009, and in 2010, again coincident with this, the Biopharma Skills initiative had started, and that was spearheaded by Christine Williams and Gavin Brooks, who at the time was our head of school. And so we were given the opportunity then to, through ESIF funding, so Economic Challenge Investment Fund, I think it's called, to fund training for interns who were working in industry, and these were in biopharma, biotech industries. Aha, here we go. Okay, so this is more or less what I've been kind of rambling on about. So the idea was to then use this 10-day short course to train the interns and to provide that training for the biopharma industry. So in fact, it was something I thought we could be doing the following year. We would pilot test it on our core graduate students and use them as guinea pigs to sort of fine-tune this, which then we could take out and sort of offer up to industry. But in fact, we got the opportunity to take this to industry straight away. So we ran 5 modules. There were 2 days each. There were 40 participants per module, and these are the 5 days, the 2 days each was a combination of lectures, face-to-face lectures, and practicals. And these were practicals, either computer-based practicals or lab-based practicals. And it also included a local visit to the Diamond Light Source synchrotron, which we have very strong links with. And of course, that's where a lot of life science and even, sciences generally takes place. And given that it's been the UK's largest investment in science in the last 40 years, we thought it was a nice opportunity to kind of take these students and people there to see what's on offer, because of course they're keen to build links with industry and with us as well. So it's a nice opportunity to deliver all of that, and we're still carrying on. Some of the people involved in these initial lectures are still involved in the delivery of the things that we're developing now. The 40 participants came from industry, our postgraduate students across the campus, so we had people from soil science, agriculture, food, pharmacy, biological sciences. We weren't restricted in any way. We opened it up to all the science students, and we had a number of students come on each one. It wasn't always the same 40 participants, so in fact the number is significantly larger than this in terms of overall participation. And we had 5 places that were funded by the UKRC for women in SET, which was really nice, because then these were funding women who were returning to work after a career break. And so that was rather a nice thing to do. So we had 11 companies involved, and as I say, this mixture of people, and it was funded by the consortium. And what it enabled us to do is to gather feedback. Because it was funded by USIF, we were we offered it free, basically. But the return was they had to provide us with feedback on the courses. So that's been really invaluable. And we used that to leverage funding from the BBSRC MTI fund, the Modular Training Industry, which is a very small pocket of money, which really will help you develop one module. So if anybody is seeking to do this, they've just released, I believe yesterday, the next call for these modular training grants.
Today.
Today, okay. So that's kind of where we are. And I'll just make sure. Yeah. So these are the lessons that we learned from the pilot short course. We learned, and I think we heard a lot of this from the last two speakers as well. So we know that flexibility has to be at the core. And from a teaching and learning perspective, this is good because, of course, in sciences, biotechnologies and high-throughput technologies has moved really rapidly. The science moves really fast. And so what we want is something that allows us to incorporate that emergent science. And I think that's really important for the next generation of the workforce that we're hoping to contribute and provide and support. From a participant perspective, of course, it allows the opportunity of this sort of full-time, part-time. It allows working away at home. And the important thing that we learned was also work-based learning, so to incorporate elements of allowing people to use their own research at work as part of the sort of credit toward the modules. So allowing that flexibility was really important. And of course this idea of credit bearing and non-credit bearing. So again, a lot of the organizations we were working with, they weren't particularly concerned about credit bearing, but the opportunity is important for the participant. From the company's perspective, they don't care, of course, but from the participant's perspective, they do like that possibility. And again, I think like the others, we have multiple entry and exit routes, so we know that some people want to come along and just do some professional development. And one of the things that we also learned from working with industry, and certainly the biopharma industry, and I think this is true of most industries, are this idea of multidisciplinary teams. So where you have someone from genetics, for example, and someone from bioinformatics, and someone from structural biology, you need to be able to cross-talk, and you need to be able to understand each other's science in a way that allows it to be really fully productive and functional. And so one of the points of feedback, one of the most common points of feedback, was the opportunity to learn about other people's science. So and so that they then could sit in a meeting and better understand their colleagues and better contribute then to the success of those projects, those internal projects. So that's something else that's important. So, and ideally, these multiple entry and exit routes, we allow people to do sort of just a one-off training thing for CPD credit, and we know from talking to professional bodies that that's also very important as well, and is becoming a core part of membership to a lot of the professional societies, or a certificate of completion or whatever. And I think we haven't kind of resolved all these issues, but these are kind of where we're headed. We also learned a variety of study modes and opportunities were important. So self-learning, peer group learning. So I think this is this notion of these workshops, these group workshops, face-to-face, and as I say, the workplace learning. And I think that's something that we can't ignore. I think that's really important, and we have to be able to embed that into these modules. So it's very important that we also have engagement from industry. So as I said, a number of the people who are involved in the short course are still continuing to be involved in delivery of the modules that we're creating now. So these are people from industry. So that keeps the science relevant, it keeps it topical, and again, it helps with networking. So when we had this before, one of the points of feedback was it was really nice for participants to speak to the speakers afterwards, or have that contact with them by email or whatever other means they then developed independently. Was a really nice opportunity that they wouldn't have otherwise had. So that's that. So I think now we're going to see, T's going to take over and she's going to show you. So we have these 3 modules. So we started with 5 modules and then got down to 3 that were considered to be the 3 most sort of relevant to the industry currently. And so that's where we are. And so this is just showing you. I should also say the BBSRC grant was a joint grant with the Open University. So some of the things that we learned from the Open University were the types of engagement in terms of the online delivery. And this is really important. And I think this is where, so we spent the first summer pretty much evaluating different modes of delivery through Blackboard, through Moodle, using different software, embedding different modes and means. And by the end of it, and it took quite a bit of time and effort to evaluate this, this is what we've kind of settled on, is we have this This is articulate, and so we're using articulate as a kind of, the Blackboard is a point of entry, but then articulate is the way that these are fundamentally being delivered, and it allows us a lot of flexibility in terms of the types of materials and ways we can deliver these. Right, we have 1 minute too, so we can move on. We have a pre-entry diagnostic, so the modules have levels, so we've got 3 different levels. There's an entry level, which is a very basic level that anybody can do without any prerequisite. Level 2 requires a certain amount of knowledge, and you have a pre-course diagnostic for each module, which will test your basic knowledge, and then will give you suggestions as to which point you should enter in at, whether it's 1, 2, or 3. And level 3 is basically the all singing, all dancing, if you're planning to go on to do this as an MSc program, professional doctorate, or what have you. And it involves residential learning, research type, or work-based learning, which would become part of the research credits. So, I don't know how quickly can we...
I've played the diagnostic already.
Okay,
so
okay. Can we whip through any quicker?
Yeah.
Anyway, so, and there's a series of self-quizzes and other kind of formal and informal ways of assessing as well. So it's got the kind of standard sort of means and modes of assessing and looking at student work and progress. Can we maybe exit out of this and just go to this, or we're going to...
Yeah, no, it was just really showing what can be done with it.
So T's spent a lot of time... we had 2 Europe students as well who worked with us to develop these, which was really rather nice, a good experience for them. So anybody looking to kind of engage with students, this is a nice way, particularly for students who are interested in teaching and learning. So we had 2 very successful Europe students this year who helped to work on these articulate presentations, and they worked to translate the lecture material from lecturers onto the articulate using that sort of format and platform. So that's where we are. We'll probably continue to do it this way. As I say, it's been on a shoestring budget, so things like Europe, Annual Fund have been really invaluable to us. But what we really, really like is something along the lines of what the Food ATP has been able to establish. But we think there's a lot of scope. So we've got future developments, and again, these have been in discussion with industry and the professional societies. So we know these are things that they very much want and that we're working toward delivering in the future. And we think it's one of the things we've also had funding from the HEA, the Higher Education Academy, to look at internationalization of the curriculum. And again, this is important because it's linked to global employability. And what we're trying to produce is that next generation workforce. We want to make them, really tech savvy. We want to take advantage of the fact that they actually are probably not more tech savvy than we are as, older educators. But I think, there's a lot of scope to really kind of make this engaging and interesting and to attract international students. Oh, it's me now, sorry. So we're trying to, I guess, sell the benefits of why, we think this has value. We think that we've demonstrated through the pilot that it has a global biotech market. We know that professional societies are willing to endorse these modules as part of their professional development of their members. There's been some international marketing done here at the university to suggest that MSc in biotechnology might be a good route for us as a school, and I think that's something, quite personally, I think that this lends itself naturally to, because a lot of the work has been embedded and coming from biotechnology and forming partnerships. And it's extending these skills training and doing the workplace learning or the practical learning can be done also abroad, so we can take advantage of the new campus in Malaysia. And I think there is this sort of the whole flexible nature of it, and I know Richard and I have spoken before, and I will talk to you again, about this idea that it really lends itself to interdisciplinary study as well. So I think some of the modules that we're creating, instead of duplicating efforts, I think, joining together and collaborating to try and deliver these things across the university, it probably makes economic sense and will lend itself to long-term sustainability. So this is my plea. I think we can all agree this is the most important thing that underpins success of any of these programs. Funding is key, and getting that all-important ping in your email that says you've got funding would be marvelous. So that's where we're going next. This is just part of the team, past and present, so T now manages the project. These were our Europe placement students this summer. We have a Bioscience email, so people can send emails and questions. We've got blogs, we've got all sorts of other things.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.